Welcome to Tanya Live on Tuesdays. Tuesday mornings at 9:45, we have a sisterhood of women from around the world who meet via technology, social media, and we learn Tanya. In fact, we are up to chapter 46. That means we have 6 more chapters, and then we are going to make a siyum. We're going to make some kind of party, everyone in their part of the world, to celebrate that we finished the entire first part of Tanya. As usually, we like to start off by giving tzedakah. So if you have a charity box, or you can take a coin and put it aside. Gedel tzedakah shemikareves es ha'geula. We say those words that tzedakah hastens the geula, hastens the coming of redemption, which is something we all want and we all need. And before we start off with our Tehillim, 2 degrees in Toronto, but it is sunny. I'd like to know how everyone's feeling. And I would like to mention that today's class, besides for the Tehillim we're going to say for those that need a recovery, we are going to dedicate today's Tanya, Le'iloi Nishmas, in memory of Yisrael ben Simcha Banim, who passed away last week, the dear father of Evelyn, who is now in Colombia. And Evelyn, we're with you there in spirit, and now we're with you in our Tanya learning, which is even at another level. So we wish you and your family long life and only simchas. Just jot down how everyone's feeling this morning. Okay, your mood, what is it today? Are you feeling upbeat? Are you feeling positive? Are you feeling verklempt? Are you feeling nervous? Are you feeling excited? Good morning, Arlene and Esther. Good morning. Just jot down how you're feeling. Just like to gives me an understanding of who is in our classroom this morning. Okay, Evelyn, my pleasure. And while everyone's busy jotting that down, today's Tehillim is going to be said. L'schut, Corinne says, feeling good. Rosalie is grateful. Shirley is wonderful. Okay, this is going to be a very positive class and in tune with our topic as well. Shaul ben Devorah, Miriam Reza, Shoshana Bas Yechana, Yaakov Moshe ben Necha. And if there's anyone else that you would like to wish Refuah Shalema to, Francesca, you're feeling so anxious. Okay, I hope after today's class you're going to feel more positive, more upbeat. Maybe that's what Tanya will do. Okay, here we go. Chapter 20 in Tehillim. Okay. Brightness feeling worried. Sarah Kanska, good morning. Okay. Lamnatseach mizmor leDavid yancha dinar biyom tzara. Yisagefcha Shem Elohei Yaakov. Yishlach ezrecha mikodesh u'metzion yisadeka. Yiskar kol mechosecha v'lascha yidash nesela. Yiten lecha chavavecha v'chol atzascha yimale. Nirana b'shuasecha u'v'shem Eloheinu nidgol. Yimalei Adonai kol meshalosecha. Ata yedati ki Hoshia Adonai mishicho yaneu mishmekotcha b'gvuros Yesha Yemino. Ela v'rechev ve'ela v'asusim v'anachnu b'shem Adonai Eloheinu naskir. Hema karu v'nafalu v'anachnu kamnu v'nisodad. Adonai Hoshia HaMelech Yanenu v'yom korenu. And I see we have some Tehillim here in honor of Mordechai Shimon ben Razel. Bella Bas Chana is in the hospital in Montreal. We wish her a complete refuah shlema, and we will keep her in mind as we study Tanya today. Yisrael ben Ruth, Shnezamana Cohen ben Devorah Mirka, sorry, that's right. Okay, we have, lots of people we're going to think about as we get into chapter. We are going to be concluding today chapter 46, and that's Mem Vav. And after that, as I mentioned, we are going to be concluding the Tanya in a few more weeks, after which we will make a siyum. I think it's sort of, well, if you would be here today in shul with me, we bring out l'chaim and we bring up mizonot, and we would talk about what the Tanya has done for us and the lessons we've learned and the guidance that we have received from the Alter Rebbe, the author of the Tanya. But we'll probably have to have a siyum online. That's okay. Everyone will prepare something in their homes. So last week, 2 weeks ago actually, we started talking about chapter 46, and I want to just review a little bit as we concluded this week. We spoke about how to mirror God's love. And we said the pasuk that the Admor Hazokein, the Alter Rebbe, brings down here in Tanya is Kamayim Haponim Al Ponim. Just like a face brings the reflection of the face back. So if you give a sad face, you see the reflection back. Kamayim Haponim Haponim. Kain Lev Ha'adam El Ha'adam. As a face reflects face in water, so does the heart of man to man. So this is from Proverbs, chapter 27, verse 19, of which King Solomon says that just as water reflects back a similar face to the one that's gazing in, right? A happy face reflects a happy face. A sad one reflects a sad one. The same is true with a person's heart. If a person's heart is good to his friend's heart will be good to him. If it's nasty, it will be nasty too. That is Mitzudat David. That's a commentary on the Proverbs. So the question is this instinctual? Is it automatic? What does that mean? That kamayim apanim. If I give out a kind, loving face to a neighbor, a friend, a spouse, will I get that back? Okay, that's the question today. And if you want to give me feedback, either in the comments or with emojis, do you believe in this, that King Solomon, by the way, who was the wisest of all men, clearly even outdid Viktor Frankl, Albert Einstein, Bowlby, Sue Johnson. I mean, you name all the great therapists out there. King Solomon was above and beyond. Do you believe that in your life, in your day-to-day interactions? Do you see that? Do you see that the kindness and love you share with others, it is returned to you? I'm just curious. Give me some kind of emoji so I'll know that what King Solomon's saying resonates with you. And here on the sidelines of the Tanya, it says, emotions are always mirrored. If you love someone, they will instinctively love you back. The same is true with feelings for God. When you contemplate how God has shown love for you, your heart will automatically mirror back that love. So clearly Tanya is trying to get us to have an understanding and a relationship with our Creator, with God. But he starts off with giving an analogy that King Solomon gives in Proverbs. Okay, have you ever learned Proverbs? Anybody? Have you ever heard of King Solomon? All right, give me some kind of thumbs up so I know that we're on the same page. I see we have a lot of viewers, but I like to get the feedback. I'm a social animal. I need feedback from people. I can't just talk to a phone. So if a person knows of his friend's love and he senses it, will he give back that love? And the parable we gave last week was a king who comes and takes a very, very lowly man, lifts him out of the garbage and brings him into his palace and dresses him and cares for him and gives him all the hygiene he needs. And then not only does he give him beautiful clothing, but he brings him into his inner chambers and he shows him around the palace, into treasuries, into rooms that he's never shown anyone else. How would that beggar react to the king? I don't know. What do you think? Put it down in the comments. Would it be cynical? Would it be dead? Or would it be responsive? This parable is what the Alter Rebbe gives, which is actually a parable that is very, very sort of aligned with what is going on in our world today. You know, this morning when I was davening and I was saying the Shema, And it's very quiet in my house in the mornings now compared to when I was raising my kids for 34 years. Now it's quiet and I can focus on my Shema. And as I'm covering my eyes and I'm thinking, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, this God that has given me life, has given me every breath, gives me the ability to walk, the ability to breathe, the ability to think, a house over my head. This same God, he's showing me so much love. What am I showing God back? And that is why a Jew starts off their morning after Moda'ani and after prayers, we always say the Shema. Because the Shema, part of the Shema prayer talks about taking us out of Egypt. And there wasn't a greater gift God could have given us, very lowly slaves, in Gullus for over 210 years, without any hope of escaping. Because if you know anything about Egyptian rulership and the Egyptian culture in those years, over 2,500 years ago, no slave ever left Egypt. And here we had over 1 million people that escaped. If that's not enough of God's love, then what is? So here we have the Jews leaving Egypt, and we remind ourselves every single day when we say the Shema, we remind ourselves of the love that God showed us, and that is why we love God. Think about the analogy. If, God forbid, someone is drowning, and out of nowhere, a speedboat just zooms by, and he sees you like lifelessly screaming, and when you're drowning, you don't even have a voice, but he sees the hands going all the way up, and he realizes someone's struggling, and he stops, and he throws out the life-saving equipment, and you grab on, and you're hauled back into the boat. You sit in that boat, and you look at this captain or teenager, whoever was driving the boat at that time, and you are eternally grateful. And for the rest of your life, you will be grateful because that person did a chesed to you, did a kindness to you that saved your life. And at that point, no one has to tell you any of the virtues of that person. They showed you love. You will mirror that back. You will be forever eternally grateful. And that is what the Tanya is telling us here. When God brought us into the covenant of the Torah, when he took us out of Egypt and gave us the Torah, and remember, God created the world. He created the 4 different levels of the heavens. Olam Atzilus, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. The lowest level being the world of action, which we are in now. And God could have been creating a relationship with anyone. The angels in Atzilus, the souls in Yetzira. Why did he choose lowly earthly beings like us? People that are busy with food, makeup, shopping, exercise, massages, gardening, cleaning toilets. I mean, why does God want a relationship with me and you? Just that thought. And in the earthly creations, there are billions of people. God chose us, the Jew. He chose us, the Jewish people, to be his nation. He could have chosen any other nation, and there are many nations. We know because we've been beaten by a couple of them. We've been slaves by many of them. They're gone. But God chose us. And he chose us to give the Torah to give the Torah and to give the 613 mitzvot. And when he chose us, it was like that king who pulled us out of the dungeon and out of the darkness. And he said, I want you to be my people. Come into my palace. I will dress you. I will clothe you. I will give you everything you need. And sometimes, my friends, and you could tell me with a thumbs up if you agree, sometimes people feel like it's too much, too many mitzvahs. Can't eat this. I'm traveling to Hawaii and I want to eat that. I really used to love shellfish. I can't eat that anymore. Why so many? Okay, God, you love us. Great. But why so many mitzvahs? And we will soon understand that every mitzvah that we do is like a hug and a kiss from God. He's giving us opportunities to embrace Him. These are the love languages that we've spoken about many times previously. When God gives us the Torah mitzvahs, that is God saying, you are now going to be elevated from a very typical lowly person involved in physicality every day. I'm going to elevate you. Yes, you might be on the lowest world of Asiya, the world of action, but I want you to realize that you are now being raised. You are now on the highest level. And when God shows us that, He gave us His Torah. The Torah is His essence. Then how can we not look back and say, I love you too, God. I will follow you blindly, like the Jews did in the desert. But I want to share with you a crazy story. This story actually happened in 2019. There was a plane that was leaving JFK on its way to Israel, to Tel Aviv, to Ben Gurion Airport. And it was making a stopover in Athens. Well, there was a lot of challenges in that flight because due to some delay, the flight was never going to make it to Israel on time for Shabbat. And there were many Shomer Shabbat Jews on the flight. Many Jews on the flight. Actually, all kinds of Jews were on the flight because it was going to Israel. And suddenly realized they're going to be stuck on this flight and it's Shabbat. So they clamored up to the pilot and the stewardess and they said, we have to get off. I know it's just a stop, but we have to get off. And they said, well, sorry, you can't get off. We're just down here for the refueling. And they said, no, you don't understand. We're not allowed to fly on Shabbat. And there was a whole kerfuffle that went on. And eventually they let all the Jews that wanted to keep Shabbat, they let them off. But where do you keep Shabbat in Athens? You're getting off an hour before Shabbat. Where in the world are you going to go? There's no food, there's no shul, there's no hotel for you. What are you going to suddenly do? Well, what happened was clearly miraculous. The shluchim there, Rabbi and Mrs. Hendel, and I'll give a shout out to them. I think her name is the Chamadina Hendel. I met her a few times in New York at the Shluchas convention. Her and her husband Mendel are the local Chabad shluchim. And what do? As soon as they got wind that 180 Jews deplaned so that they could spend Shabbat in a proper way, they prepared entire Shabbat. First, the airline organized the hotel. They didn't realize that more people were going to get off the plane than they had expected because they just counted the glatt kosher meals. But there were many people that hadn't ordered glatt kosher meals that said, no, me too. I don't want to fly on Shabbat. And they also went off the plane and joined this group. And they went on buses to get to the terminal. But they weren't able to take their luggage because their luggage was already on the way to Tel Aviv. So with their clothes on their back and maybe a sandwich or two, they arrived at the hotel to find out that Rabbi and Rebbitzin Hendel had prepared 3 meals for their Shabbat, plus a shul and a Torah in the hotel. Now, what was so incredible about the Shabbat? On this, now, if you've ever flown to Israel, you know there's all stripes of Jews. You have Jews with shtreimels, you have Jews with kippah, with earrings, with nose rings, with torn jeans, with white shirts, with blue shirts, with no shirts. You have all kinds of Jews sitting on the plane. And those are the Jews that went off the plane. And when they got to the hotel, they realized the hotel didn't have enough space. So people had to double up. And people turned to their right, and they turned to the left, and an Israeli Sephardic Jew paired up with a chassid from Borough Park, and a hipster signed up with a Israeli kibbutznik, and the oddest of odds paired up and shared rooms so that everyone could have a place for Shabbat. And they came to the Friday night. The Hendels put out candles for all the women, and there was white tablecloths on the tables. And you have to remember, people were not dressed up for Shabbat. Maybe one or two guys had a white, clean shirt in their little carry-on. Except for Hasidim, who usually wear, suits and a white shirt. Everyone was wearing their weekday travel clothing. And everybody gathered. The women lit the candles together. And the men started to sing. And the women all together sang their Welcome Shabbat songs. And they realized that Jews all know the same songs. And the L'chuna Ranana, and the L'chadodi, and the Bo B'Shalom, and of course the Shema prayer, Aleinu L'Shabeach. Same tunes all over the world. Jews realize that yes, maybe externally we look different. This kind of kippah, that kind of hat, no kippah. Women with shaitels, with tichels, with caps, you name it. We were one family that Shabbat. And as the Jews were sitting together enjoying a beautiful meal, not only with a 3-course meal, but Rebbetzin Hendel even brought out dessert for 180. You would think this gentleman who wrote this article, Dr. Jonathan Paley, I think his name is, he wrote this article, and he writes that you would think that they had been given, 3 weeks notice for a party of 180. They were given less than a few hours to bring together all this food to help their brethren, because Am Yisrael is one family. During the meal, the rabbi spoke about the community in Athens, and he mentioned, just as a side, that the community there, the women are struggling because there is no mikvah, and many women have to go in very dangerous weather conditions, whether it's in the sea, or they have to fly to neighboring countries, and it's very hard. Well, that Shabbos, I'm about to cry now, about over $100,000 was raised by these people, these sudden guests to Athens. And I know someone wrote over here, a great HP moment, but I want to take it even more than that. I want to take deeper than HP moment. What happened at this Shabbos in Athens? Kamayim hapanim apanim kein lev ha'adam. This beautiful couple, these shluchim, yes, the Rebbe had sent them to Athens to help the Jews in Athens, but the Rebbe had the foresight to know that there'll be other things and other favors that this couple is going to have to do. This couple had no clue what was the status symbol of these guests. Not even dreaming they'd be able to collect any money. They gave meals unconditionally. They prepared meals, 3-course meals for Friday night, for Shabbat morning, for Shabbos lunch, for Shal Shudas, before they were whisked back off to Tel Aviv. They prepared these meals unconditionally. Kamayim hapanim. They just gave love and chesed to another Jew. And what did they get back? Kein lev ha'adam. The guests were so caught up with this abundance of love, this showering of absolute unconditional kindness. It was reciprocated. And that is why King Solomon is absolutely correct. When you give with love, you will see love back. That is a premise that King Solomon shares with us in Proverbs. And we have to realize this in our relationships. But I want to come out with something a little bit interesting. And I want you to answer me, either in the comments or with emojis. Have you ever been in a relationship where you gave, and you never got back? Has this ever happened to you? You gave, but you didn't get back? And that sort of contradicts everything that King Solomon has written here in Proverbs. I don't know. Is it possible that sometimes you give, and many people are in relationships where they give and give and give, and you don't get back? So what does this mean? Kamayim apanim. How is King Solomon's saying, how is that true? Let me see what some of you are writing. You get back what you give. What you put in, you get back. Sometimes. So you're saying sometimes you do give and you don't get back. Yeah? How is that possible? I thought we just said that you give and you get backs. So Francisca's saying, so what's the mistake here? And then we have Carol who says, and worse, I gave and then got stabbed back many times. So clearly, there's something that's very subtle here that I want to bring to your attention. He says, the analogy is, kamayim hapanim el panim. And listen to this very deep insight from King Solomon. He's not saying the way you look at a wall is what you get back, because you can't look at a wall and get your reflection back. Sometimes you give, but if you're staring at a brick wall, are you going to get back your reflection? No. So sometimes what King Solomon's saying is it has to be water. The reflection is coming from something that's able to give back. When you give, it has to be given into a relationship that has the opportunity to give back. Sometimes we give, but the person is like a brick wall. There's no ability to give back. And that's why King Solomon uses the expression, kamayim hapanim. Mayim means water. It has to be a reflective entity. There are times that we give out love, 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 and all we get back is a brick wall. That relationship will not give you the lev ha'adam, won't give you back the need that you desire or the love that you are longing for. If somebody is emotionally a brick wall, your love will be out of kindness, possibly. And that's okay to give that too. But don't be shocked when you don't get anything back. What King Solomon's saying is here is when you give like water to a reflective human being, that you're not barking up the wrong tree, or you're giving love, but you know that's your soulmate. You feel that there's something there that's deeper, that has an opportunity for love to blossom. You're giving to someone that has it in them and it will come back like water. Then, yes, then lev ha'adam ha'adam. But if you're giving to something that's not water, then you might not get back. Exactly. It's that emotional brick wall. And I think in a relationship, sometimes we have to realize when we are actually giving that unconditional love to a stone wall. And sometimes it could be a family member that we give it regardless because it's our child. And hopefully, if we break through enough, there will be a mirror behind that wall. But to realize that sometimes it's that brick wall. But what King Solomon is instilling with us in here is that when you are speaking to a reflective person, when there is an opportunity, a healthy person, or someone that has a pintala neshama there, that there is opportunity to get back, then the more you give, the more you will get back. And that's something we saw with this story in Athens. The shliach gave unconditionally. But who did he give to? He gave to fellow Yidden. He gave to fellow Jews. He gave to Jews that had jumped off a plane, literally ran off the plane. Thank you, Denise, by the way, for the story. He jumped off the plane. They jumped off. Why? Because Shabbat meant so much to them. So they wanted to keep Shabbat, and because of Shabbos, they were getting off that plane. So Hashem responded back by having a shliach there. And then the shliach gave to them, and they responded back. So you see how many different dynamics are going on in this one story. Jews showed Hashem love by giving unconditionally. They said, we're not going on a flight on Shabbat. You said, God, you said no flying on Shabbos. We will not. And so they came off even thinking all they might have is coffee, water, and maybe a granola bar in their purse. They had no clue what they were going to eat for 25 hours. They gave God unconditional love. And God gave back. How? He sent them a shliach. He planted a shliach 25 years earlier for them so that they would be able to give back kamayim upon him. And this shliach gave unconditionally. What did he get back? He got back a mikveh for his community. My friends, this is chapter 46 in a nutshell. We were given the opportunity to give back to Hashem because Hashem loves us. I want to read something in this Tanya here. A mitzvah is an intimate bond with God, like a hug, and Torah is like a kiss. Through Torah and mitzvahs, it is as if you are married to Hashem and share the intimacy of husband and wife. God lifts you to the level of supernal holiness. And what does it mean, holiness? To be holy means to be separate. God is holy because his infinite life doesn't fit into the world. God is separate. God is, as we say, Havdalah. God is separate. But he invites us as his Jewish nation to join him in his hug. You know, in a relationship, we know we all kiss our children. We all hug our children. That's one level of relationship. We hug a friend we haven't seen for a while. We hug our parents. But then there's another relationship, another level. That's between our husband and wife. And that embrace and that kiss is on a whole different realm than just of a hug and a kiss to a child or a friend. Here in Tanya, God is saying the relationship that we have with him is not just to us and a child, between a mother and a child, but it's between a husband and a wife. That level. And that's unconditional. That's a mayim upon him. And we speak many times about the 5 love languages, about giving your spouse what they need, giving unconditionally. When we give our spouse unconditional, we get back. It's reciprocal. And when we give God, because God gives us unconditional love. So we are going to conclude chapter 46. And as mentioned a few times, the palindrome we have with the word Natan. And just remember this. Natan. Nun, tough, nun. When you give, you get back. It's the palindrome of the nun, tough, nun. When you give, kamayim upon him, elpanim. When you give and you show that smile, that love, that joy, that unconditional giving, you will get back. Kein lev ha'adam es ha'adam. So I want to wish you all a week of contemplating on this meditation, the meditation of saying the Shema, thanking God for the ability to receive his love. And when you're ever feeling down, lost, or helpless, like Francesca, you said you're feeling a little bit, we don't know where this is going to go now with the COVID, but just wake up and know that Hashem has your back. Hashem's got your back. And if at any moment you are feeling a brick wall, cover your eyes and say, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Machasol Le'olam Va'ed. You can say the chapter, you find it in the Siddur anywhere. Say it a few times a day. That will connect you to the master of the universe, the creator of our world, the life of all living, our God, who has an intimate relationship with us, And like we said, Torah and mitzvahs is that hug and that kiss. The more you do, the more you'll feel that love, as it is reciprocal. And I'm wishing you a great week.